All right, we are live on YouTube. And, someone has joined me in space. So, Star Wars, right? Yeah, okay. I think I recognize that. So, I think we're picking up some audio from somebody, maybe neutral. Oh, it's you? Nah, it's neutral.
Speaking of trash, it's definitely destroying a bit. Not 2 hours.
And
Speaking of that, moving along. Hey, gang, I fly so well.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
What is that weird audio? It's like a foreign language.
Thought it was me for a minute, but
you
it's not.
You really played the clever net.
Yeah, see the yellow line around neutral? It's coming from him.
But you know.
All right, and now I am admitting maybe Littlefoot. All right, cool.
Issues.
All right, so what are we doing here today? So what we are doing is, once a quarter, 4 times a year, we do a little Q&A with the people who are members on our channel. So if you are interested in participating in one of these Q&As where we do this live stream and have a discussion, all you have to do is click that little button to become a member of our channel. This is one of the benefits. Another one of the benefits, something that's going to be coming up soon, is twice a year we do these aggregated lists where everybody submits a list of games that they enjoy. In the summer we do the Cult of the New. At the end of the year we do best games of all time, and I rank and stack all those lists together, and then we put out a video showing the top 25 from that aggregated list. So probably in June here you're going to see the Cult of the New games that have been published from 2018 to 2023. And interestingly, a bunch of them are from 2018, so they'll drop off the list the following year. They won't be eligible anymore. All right, cool. So, as part of this Q&A, we had some questions, obviously, that we wanted to answer. I think I wanted to start off just talking about, what games are people anticipating, right? So that could be a pre-order that you've done, or just a game that you've heard about, or maybe a game you crowdfunded, or something like that. So I think, amazingly, I don't have very many. I went and looked. I don't have very many things on pre-order. I have 2 expansions. One expansion that is never going to come out, probably. And one actual full-on game. So have you guys heard of Empire's End by John D. Clare?
Not really.
Yeah, it's coming from Brotherwise Games. So John D. Clare, Space Base. Actually, I think his newest game is Rolling Heights, maybe, which I haven't played yet. He did Ready Set Bet was him as well, I think. So he's done a lot of games, but it's on the shorter, lighter spectrum. I like that about it. It only goes to 4 players, which I wish it did more. But I'm really interested in it because I don't see a lot of games making use of the no thanks reverse bidding mechanism. So everybody has like a civilization that they're running, and there's a disaster that happens, and so somebody eventually has to take the disaster, but you can be like, no thanks, put some resources or whatever on it to pass the disaster to the next person. So the person who takes the disaster, they get the disaster, but they also get some benefit. And it's got a whole engine building civilization thing going on. I'm of 2 minds about this game because I am the kind of person who does not like when somebody takes a good game and then tries to make a more gamer version of it. My favorite example of that is King of New York versus King of Tokyo. I don't know why you need King of New York when you have King of Tokyo. Just today, I was talking to one of my friends about Red Rising, and I'm like, sure, Red Rising is a fine game, but I'd rather just play Fantasy Realms, right? That was a simple game that didn't need all these other gamer mechanisms around it added on. So I hope Empire's End is not just no thanks with a bunch of gamer mechanisms added on. And not
it depends really, because if you look at I think it's called Game of 49 and they rethemed it to something else, it's essentially bingo, but it's gamerized, and it actually is a pretty fun game. So there are times where they do take something and add some mechanics to it to make it gamers, and it works. It is a crapshoot. It's a coin flip kind of. It either works or it doesn't. But I wish they would do that more often, actually, because games like you said, no thanks. That's a unique mechanic. It's really cool. How do we get 2,000 new board games a year and nobody has tried to use that mechanic in a different thing? Just like the civilization mechanic of you activate a card and then it moves to the back of the line. Arc Nova finally picked that up and used it, and it's the core of the entire game, and it works really well. So there's these cool systems and small little pieces that are just never used again or never replicated. And even if the game's not good, I at least like when they take a chance and go, "Hey, let's try this out." So I think it's worth doing, even if a lot of times it does end up falling flat.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference definitely between using a mechanism or combining mechanisms in a unique way and taking a game and just adding gamer levels onto it, right? And
Sure.
so until I play it, I don't know which one I'm getting in that case. So
It's like a
anyway,
cat in a box.
yeah, yeah. Cat in the Box is not on my list because it arrived today in the mail. So that's not a game that I guess I am still anticipating it, right? Because I haven't played it.
If you
But
haven't played it yet, you're still anticipating it.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, there's a lot of games I'm still anticipating on my shelves. Then, if that's the criteria.
Did you already open it?
No, I haven't opened it.
So it is technically a Schrodinger's cat in a box.
Yes, I don't know if I have a new pet or not.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to the next person, Martin Pring. Martin, what are you anticipating? You got something on pre-order or crowdfunded?
I think the expansion we're all waiting for is the Ark Nova expansion. I think,
Oh, the Marine one.
yeah, I think that's what everyone's waiting for.
So I actually haven't played Arc Nova, but I hear that Marine gives you ways to sort of dig for cards that you want. Is that what you're excited about in that expansion?
Yeah, I mean, just burning through cards in Ark Nova is hard enough, and then trying to get to what you want is even harder. But I think adding those mechanics will help.
Yeah, cool. So, Erock, have you played Arc Nova?
Have I played Ark Nova? You're very funny. I heard of the expansion. I don't know much about the expansion. It just kind of makes me wonder whether this was planned from the beginning or whether it was a result of the negative comments about I can't ever find the other bears. And it was like a response to the community, as it were. I'd almost rather it was planned from the beginning than be a response to the community, because screw the community. Just make your game. Just saying.
No, I think in almost every case, like, I mean, I've been behind the scenes a little bit, designer, publisher area, and it's very rare that a game is like, let's strip that out and put it in an expansion and ship it a year later, right? I mean, that's not. In fact, most of the time, you don't even know if the game is going to get a reprint, much less an expansion, right? So,
Well, the problem with that, though, is addressing it after the fact in an expansion makes the expansion mandatory. If it's addressing an issue in the core box, and then you have to have that, you have to remember the rules, you have to have all the cards added in. And a lot of times they'll create an expansion to address an issue, but then they add other stuff on top of it. So it addresses the issue, but it adds so much overhead to the game. And Ark Nova is already a long, complex game to play and teach and all that. I still love it. I still own it, but I don't love the band-aid fix of an expansion to try to address a core issue, because more often than not, I find it doesn't work as well
Is
as they like.
is it a core issue though, or is it just a thing that some people are complaining about?
It's
Because
absolutely a core issue, 100%.
yeah.
When
I mean,
I played the
No
game-
way. It's just a thing people are complaining
no.
about.
It is something that is not great about the game, and so it just depends on how much you care about that, whether that's a problem
Well-
for you. But the game is not perfect. No game is perfect, and this is
No.
a flaw in the game. So I mean, every game has flaws.
I
So,
don't think it's a flaw in the game. I think it's part of the original
Well-
game design, and that's the way it goes.
It's a
meant
flaw
to
in the
be
original game design, though.
But
Here's the
it's-
problem. I have an anecdote for this, and I know that doesn't mean data, but I played a game. I started the game with 2 petting zoo animals in my hand, 2 of them. I said, I'm going to make a petting zoo, obviously. So I started it. I played through an entire game of Ark Nova, the full arc. I never got another petting zoo animal. Only one came up the entire time, and somebody grabbed it just because they're like, oh, I get a free card that I can snap, and they grabbed it. if you make such niche designs of you can do this, but there's only a little bit of them in the deck and no way to go find them, you're just relying on luck for the game to work. So when somebody goes for a petting zoo strategy and they can never get a third one and lose, they didn't lose because they were outplayed. They lost because the deck has 1,282 cards in it and they couldn't find the one thing they needed all game.
Yeah, but I feel like you're exaggerating this whole thing.
They
There-
got
there-
outplayed.
I
There
think
was not
that's
a single
kind of one of the cool
exaggeration there.
parts of the game, is that you never know if you're going to get what you need to do what you think you want to do at the beginning of the game, and so you have to adjust your strategy along the way.
I
Exactly.
typically like. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to agree with Terry. Like, I think that person just got outplayed. I think in that scenario, you went with a strategy that presented itself. You thought early on, you married it, and you didn't adjust tactically as the game went on when you should have, when you saw it wasn't just coming to fruition. So
Well, that's the problem with the game. You can't adjust. I've bought the
is
petting
that
zoo. I've got
problem
petting.
with the game.
If
You
you can
could
start
adjust,
playing a
you just don't
strategy,
continue to pursue that strategy. You get other cards, you do other things, you evolve your land based on what you do have instead of just waiting desperately for one card to come up.
I feel like you're over-representing how bad that was, how detrimental. You're talking about one petting zoo card. That would have been like 6 points.
I never played
Yeah.
with petting zoo.
Would you lose by 5?
Petting zoos. I like them so much, and I've made them work successfully a couple of times.
Sorry.
But it's just because I like critters, little animals that I can pet. That's adorable.
I mean, to a certain extent, it depends on how. So you say you have to be flexible in your strategy, but the game has to also allow that, right? So, for instance, I haven't played Arc Nova, so I'm just going to say there's this same conversation happens about Carcassonne, right? Oh, I just don't draw the tile I need, and so some people want to play with like a hand of 3 tiles or something, and I'm like, no, that. The point of Carcassonne is you deal with the thing that you drew, but the game's really flexible and it lets you do that, right? You can pivot, you can save something for later, like, well, I'm trying to do this thing, but I'll just do that later when I get it, like it gives you the game space to be flexible in your strategy. So, I mean, if Arc Nova doesn't give you what you want, but gives you the flexibility to change, then that's okay.
It doesn't have that flexibility. So say
Disagree.
there's goals in the game. It's like have 4 large animals, or there's a lot of things you're specifically looking for. So if you have 3 and you're digging for that 4th and it just doesn't come up, you don't get those bonus points, and there is nothing you can do in that entire game to mitigate not being able to get those bonus points.
I
If you-
counter with the mistake is trying to dig for the stuff. Just play the best with what you got.
Yeah, you're not supposed to play that game where you're forcing your will on it. You play the hand that you're given.
So if you're saying the game isn't dig for the thing, does that mean you don't want the expansion?
Define want.
I need the expansion because I'm a completionist.
Right.
So we're gonna have the expansion whether we play with it or not. I would say I see no reason to get the expansion and play with it because I like the game as it is. And I didn't really know what the expansion was, to be honest with you, but after our conversation, I don't really see a value for me because I like the game how it is.
Could be better.
Oh,
We'll find out.
It's called Marine, so it probably has all kinds of thematic things that you'll enjoy as
Yeah.
well. I was just
Sure,
talking
it's
about
going to
the
have a
mechanism.
lot of animals that I'll love.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
gonna
have dolphins. You'll be fine.
Or otters. Oh my gosh, if it had otters.
Oh, it has otters. Yeah. I think it's that. I definitely saw some people talking about otters recently, and I think it was in relation to that. I don't know. Could have been
I would
something
love
else.
that.
All right. Well,
It's worth a shot anyway. I mean, it's a great game. So
It adds more maps as well. So if you played all the maps in the game,
no, we have not played all the maps in the game.
come on.
You haven't played all the maps in the game.
Look at behind 2 of them. Look at the behind 2 of them. They haven't played the game
I
that
think
many
we
times.
played
Come on.
all the maps in the game during when we had COVID because we
During
had
COVID,
nothing
yeah.
else to do, so we just played Arc Nova.
Nice. All right. Well, Tiffany, if the Marine expansion for Arc Nova was not at the top of your list, what's the top of your list? What you're anticipating?
So I'm going to deviate from the norm a little bit here. Think a little bit outside of the box. I am not in charge of our shopping purchases for gaming because if I were, we would need a much bigger house. So I let Babe take care of all of our game purchases, all of the research that goes into that, and I just trust him on that. But what I am excited about is an upcoming convention in July. It's Dice Tower Con, and I am so super stoked. I can't wait. I go every year. I've gone every year with the exception of the 2 years that they were shut down for COVID for a lot. I can't even remember how long. I've been going since we were at the DoubleTree, if that gives you an idea. So I just love it so much, and I'm excited to see my friends. I'm excited to not have to work for a week. I'm excited to get to totally mess up my sleep schedule and play all of the games. Hopefully hit the pool once or twice maybe, but if not, I mean, I love the villa, so I always get the jacuzzi tub, so that's nice. That's one plug for the villa. But I'm super stoked for Dice Tower. I can't wait.
I've been trying for, I don't know what, 2-3 years neutral to try to get neutral to come to Dice Tower Con. It's not happening this year though, is it? Well, that's funny so because you're surrounded by people, I think, who are going here, right? Is it? Raise your hand if you're going. Oh. So,
that's all right. It's probably too much fun for you anyway. It's okay.
I know, you just need that excuse to go to Daytona Beach and then, make the trip over to Orlando as well. Cool. Actually, so neutral, do you have a game that you're anticipating?
White Death. It's the only thing I've kickstarted in like 3-4 years. So I'm really getting looking forward to that one.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's the next
Zombicide.
Zombicide.
Oh, now I'm here. There you go.
We love Black Plague. We love Green Horde. So I went ahead and took the plunge for White Death, and figure I'm going to end up combining them all three together, make some massive adventures. But that's it.
You play that with your kids?
Yes, and I solo it occasionally too. When I want something a little less thanky than the AD&D adventures, something that's just more chuck and dice.
Cool. I think I saw also that you have something incoming from one of those chains of generosity on Board Game Geek, right?
Oh yeah, the Genie's sending me Mansions of Madness, the original one.
Oh, okay.
First edition?
I never played it, didn't have a huge interest in it when it was out, but now that I've owned almost everything for the second edition, I was wanting it as an expansion, so give me even more second edition to mess around with.
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know it would act as an expansion to the second edition. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, was it part of the problem with the first one that some of the scenarios were just broken though?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I wasn't,
Maybe I'm thinking of a different game, Betrayal or something.
I'm not a huge Cthulhu fan, and I had Arkham Horror second edition. I had Eldritch Horror, so I never really felt the need for mansions. And I had Betrayal at House, so which
you're like me. Like, I don't really like Cthulhu, but I got 15 Cthulhu games.
Yeah.
So,
I think I've gotten rid of everything but Mansions of Madness now. I think that's, well, no, I own like Elder Sign and some of the smaller box games, but for the big Cthulhu games, the only one I own is Mansions.
I went to a convention that was just for designers and people who like to playtest designer games, right? So just a meetup for designers, etc. And I was sitting in one game where somebody was demoing something, and I put out the feedback. I was like, gosh, I'm just sort of tired of the Cthulhu theme. And then like everybody else at the table was like, boo, like they wanted more Cthulhu. I'm like, it was just some feedback of mine. It's okay. Keep your evil Cthulhu to yourself.
I'm really only interested if it's like not your normal Cthulhu. More of the outstretched Lovecraftian stuff that gives you something new, interesting. And that's the thing. I mean, there's 100 different Lovecraft stories to feed off of, and they don't all revolve around Cthulhu. So why does every game have to revolve around Cthulhu?
Well, because you can make a big mini that's fancy and costs $100 extra.
There's a great H.P. Lovecraft story that I've never heard no one talk about except once. A wizard puts a curse on a man and says every man in your family will die before the age of 30. And people keep dropping dead before 30. The curse is coming real. And the patriarch is like racking his brain. He's going crazy trying to figure out how to break this curse. The end of the book is the wizard didn't put any curse on them. He's just been breaking into their house and killing them normally.
Nice.
Serial killer, the wizard.
That's a great way to mess with somebody.
That's the breadth of stories for HP. It's either like just a wizard stabbing people or a cosmic entity trying to destroy all of existence. It's everything in between.
And depending on how many generations we're talking about, like that's a time commitment, Like
he was committed to the cause.
Serious vendetta there.
Do you think the attraction to Cthulhu is that it's relatively well known and it's no moral ambiguity at all?
It's free.
I think part of it's the period. It's usually like that, the style with the trench coat wearing detectives and kind of the noir feel to it. I think that helps a lot for some people.
But I mean, there's just so many things in the public domain that are popular enough that everybody recognizes it, at least in the gaming community, when you mention it, and that's one of them. So. But I'm saying, like, if you were going to make your own, like, horror game, you could just make your own horror game, but then you'd be like, but then we got to describe everything to everybody and try to make sense out of this world. Let's just make it Cthulhu. Well, everybody understands Cthulhu. That's what I'm saying about it being a free IP. You don't have to come up with the backstory. You don't have to do all this. All you have to do is read some stuff, and then you can use it for free because it's a free IP. And then it doesn't matter how well you explain it to people because some other people who are professional authors already explained it to people. And but that sort of feeds on itself too, right? If people keep making Cthulhu games, the bad ones will just go away, but the good ones are going to stick around. So it's going to be a popular IP.
And keep educating people about Cthulhu, which will propagate more Cthulhu games as it goes. Indeed.
How long before we get a Sherlock Holmes versus Cthulhu game?
Ooh.
Hold on, let me ask ChatGPT. We'll have one in 5 minutes.
Oh, we already have it writing one.
Isn't there an Emerald something?
Yeah, Neil. I think that's Neil Gaiman's, right?
Yeah, I have it on the shelf.
That's OOP.
Mm-hmm. For a reason, I don't think it's a great game.
It's like there's a reason.
Yeah.
I've heard that the people that love it though.
It's definitely got a cult following.
Nice. All right, next game.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. All right, next game. John, what have you got for us? What have you got incoming that you're really anticipating?
I'm the same as Tiffany. I don't have any particular games, but Dice Tower Con is just one of my favorite parts of the entire year, and I only have like a list of 4 new games that I want to try out. My goal this year is really just to get a bunch of games I love but can't get to the table often and try to play them as much as possible.
That's what we did last year. That's exactly what we did.
That's exactly what I'm looking forward to. I want to play Endless Winter. I want to play Earth. I want to play all these games that I just never get to bring to the table. Because even when we do make it out to like the game store or something, it's usually for people looking for a very specific game, or they're like, I don't want to play that one. I want to play Wingspan for the 300th time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just certainly games that I just can't ever seem to get played. So that's what I'm really aiming for. Last year I tricked people into playing Merlin with me, and I love that. So. Hopefully,
nice.
Have you ever played Merlin?
No.
Oh, it's a great game. It's a Rondel action
OOP.
selection with some area control aspect. Didn't Queen Games just reprint it a few years ago?
Oh yeah,
maybe it originally wasn't even distributed in America, but then maybe it did finally get a print run for America. I don't remember. There was an expansion, right?
Is there like 3 Queenies that go with it?
Oh, okay.
No, you're right. There is a full expansion.
Usually when you get a full expansion, then you get another printing of the game, and it gets broader distribution, etc. So I think maybe then is when it came to America, or maybe it was a Kickstarter.
It was a Kickstarter, and there's a big box that they have in the Dice Tower library. That's every expansion in Queenie, and
Nice.
I love that game, but it's just too much. There's too much in that box. So, have you ever seen the big box for Fresco?
Yes.
We have that one. There's literally 17 modules in it, so it's as long as the World of Warcraft
Yes.
game, and you never play with anything with the base game because there's always at least one person that's never played it before. It's just like, it's the height of optimism that has just ended up being a waste of space because you never get to play this extra stuff.
You sound exactly like me complaining about exactly the same things.
Yeah.
Bigger and bigger boxes to hold more and more stuff. And we always play with the base game and teach somebody to play anyway. And I just have these giant coffin boxes sitting on the shelf, taking up space.
I can't even get the Fantasy Realms expansion played. It's so hard.
I am unlikely to buy an expansion unless it will fit in the box, but I still have that problem that, I mean, just yesterday I played Draftosaurus with my kids for the first time. My wife and kids, we played that on Mother's Day, and I've got the Marina and the Aerial expansion, whatever it's called, right, in there. And I've never played with them because every time it's some new player, I'm just like, well, we'll just play base Draftosaurus and not worry about that. You know, oh well, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Littlefoot, how about you? Got something you're anticipating?
I am also anticipating White Death. We are Zombicide completionists, except for the space one, because space zombies is weird. But definitely looking forward to that. I am especially excited because it fits into the Black Plague world, which is my favorite of the two different worlds, you know, modern versus Black Plague.
3.
Oh, well, yeah, Western. But definitely looking forward to that. Dice Tower Con, this will be our first time at Dice Tower Con, so definitely looking forward to that. Seeing some of the videos on YouTube is kind of looking super overwhelming, but a lot of fun. And one other thing that we have, I don't know if it's actually arrived yet or if it's still coming. Cool Mini are not released miniatures. It's a set of Iron Maiden Eddies that you can use as characters in a whole bunch of different games. Iron Maiden being Martin's favorite band since he was 12, and we've seen them at least twice in concert. It's really interesting to see how they adapt the different things from all their different albums into games, and they fit into Zombicide, which is really the main reason that we've got them.
So there is a target market for that. I was wondering when I saw the announcement, I'm like, that's a weird crossover, but all right.
It's a small Venn diagram, but it exists.
I just figured some people from Iron Maiden must like their stuff, and so they did a collab or whatever, but I don't know.
I just think it's cool that you can use them across multiple games. I mean, some of them you can use in I think the two big ones, you can use them not only in Zombicide, but also in Ankh. You can, they cross over into different games and have different purposes depending on which game you're using them in, which I think is a cool mechanic. It's a cool thing.
That was the first concert I ever saw was Iron Maiden.
They put on a kick-ass concert. So.
Well, the first board game convention I ever went to was Dice Tower Con.
Me too.
Dice Tower Con 3, actually. I don't know what number we're up to now. Was it like 10 or something? I don't know. Anybody know?
No clue.
No.
They just do it
And
by-
technically they
they-
changed it. It's
Yeah,
now
now
Dice
it's just
Tower
Dice
East,
Tower East, right?
not Dice
because-
Tower Con. So
Yeah, they folded it into the... Before the Dice Tower didn't run the convention, they were just there. Now they have folded it into their convention space, so it is their own thing now. So it's Dice Tower East, and you got Dice Tower West, and you got the Dice Tower Cruise, and you got the Dice Tower Retreat. So they got plenty of convention things going on.
Those guys like board games.
Yeah, weird, huh? Hey, I'm going to BGG Con for the first time ever. The
Indeed.
fall one, not the spring one.
jealous.
And Littlefoot, the con can definitely be a little intimidating. When it gets cooking on like Fridays and Saturday, it feels like you're playing in a beehive because there's just a constant buzz of just like voices around you. But it's also very welcoming, and there's usually plenty of tables. You can grab one in the back corner, and it's a lot, there's quiet and stuff like that. So it's not so bad, but it can definitely be a little intimidating if it's.
That's a
usually
good
there.
point. I don't even think about that, but you're gonna be there all week, so you're gonna be there like Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and you're gonna get used to that. And then like a third of the people show up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so it gets a lot bigger all of a sudden. So, but
that part of it is not. I mean, I'm excited for all of that. I was just looking at the sheer volume of their library and going, I didn't know that many games exist.
It's pretty impressive to
Just-
see all those
Just
games.
walk around and look at the people will have up the players wanted flag and just they want players. Just sit down and play. You
Yeah,
know?
I think that's an awesome thing to see that you can put up a flag where, hey, I want to play this game, but I don't know how. Is there someone who can teach us, or someone else
Yeah.
just saying, hey, I want to play this game and I don't have enough people, come join. And it just seems like a really cool way to meet new people and experience new games, find new things that you love, and enjoy time with people you're going with as well.
Yeah, the teacher wanted flag is great. People will just walk by and go, "Oh, I know this game. I'll teach it." Like I don't have time to
Yeah.
play it or whatever, but I'll just teach you real quick how to
I've
play.
done
and
that
then
many
they're gone.
times. Yes,
So-
I'll be happy to teach you, but I gotta go here. I got plans.
If I'm in between games, I look around and walk around and look for them. And if I know the game, I'll sit there and teach it. I like teaching games, so it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I don't do that quite as much because my brain probably only has about 85% of the rules. So I'm like, and then you have to hold on. It's what the I don't know. I sat down to teach Mission Red Planet. I wasn't even going to play. I was just going to teach Mission Red Planet. So thankfully to some people I knew, and I'm just like, well, I've played this game like 5 times. It's been a couple years, but you know, it's a pretty simple game, right? You're like, well, hold on. How many ships go out and what cards,
Yeah,
and then
it is
and
a
then
very
what goes on the
simple game
planet and,
in your memory.
Yeah,
And then there's like all these symbols about things that happen at certain times and stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
overall, it's still a simple game, but then I agree, because I pull it out every once in a while too, and be like, I love this game. It's so cool and fast and easy. And then you're like, wait, what's that symbol mean? What happens then?
I know. I felt like an idiot. I'm like, I can play games. Let me show you. The bunny went to the. Hold on.
I feel like I do that every time I pull out a game because I'm like, when was the last time that I played this, and do I actually remember what I'm doing?
You know. I thought I would hate this, but I've sat down to play games with people before, and they pull out the rules and they just start reading it. Like setup, okay, everybody do the setup things. Here's the rules. Read through the rules. And I thought I would hate that, but I really don't. I mean, maybe if it was like a 20-page rule book, I would hate that. Usually,
Yeah, I don't mind it either. Babe can't stand it, but I don't mind. It's basically fundamentally the same as me reading the rules. So what's the difference, you know?
Yeah.
As long as they don't do it all weird, you know.
Yeah,
The
I
difference
guess-
is I'm not an auditory person. So
Yeah.
it just like sounds like nonsense.
If you're a kinesthetic learner, it's a nightmare.
There is no one right way to teach. That is for sure.
Sure there is. It's my way. That's the right way.
Yeah. Oh, the way where it's 7 turns into the game. I'm about to make this play. I didn't explain this earlier, but watch this.
Hey, you got to make an impression with the really important stuff, you know.
Hey,
If you
he
just
taught-
say it with the rest at the beginning, they won't remember. But if you spring it on them halfway through the game, they'll never forget that again.
You thought I taught you this game earlier, but now I'm taking you to school.
Well, he taught the game. He should deserve to win.
Hey, man, I never win
usually
games I
wins.
teach.
See,
I
the-
never win
wins.
games I teach.
I always
Liar.
run into the opposite of that because I'll be teaching a game and I'll point specifically. I'm like, "Hey, this is a beginner's trap. If you do this, this is going to be really bad. Avoid this." 3 turns in, someone does it and goes, "Well, now I'm going to lose." And it's like, "Well, you never told me that." I did. You weren't listening.
Yeah.
Oh boy, remember that game of Jet Set we played, John?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the most infamous example.
Yeah, it was great. Right there in the rule book, it's like I don't quite remember, but it's like don't make a connection that isn't one of the ones that you're going to reward for on the board as your first one, because otherwise you're spending money and you're not going to get income and you're just going to be screwed for the rest of the game. Like it says that in the rule book, right? So I taught that, and then the first player went, and I was like, okay, is this one that's going to make you some money? Okay, you're good. And the second player went, it was my wife. I was like, okay, honey, are you sure that's one that, okay, we're good. And then I was like, all right, well, we were playing like a 6-player game. I'm like, okay, good, we're done now. I can stop belaboring this point. Next person did a thing, and it wasn't one of the ones you could get money for. It comes all the way back around to his turn. It's like, time to get income. Oh, I don't get any, and I don't have any money. What do I do? You get the hell out of my house is what you do.
You sit on the couch. That's what you do.
I wasn't that mean about it, but I also wasn't gonna like unwind anything. I'm like, sorry, man. You were texting.
were warned.
He was texting on his phone, is what was going on. But yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Erock, I think you were the last person who has not shared with us what you're anticipating.
Yeah,
most.
I've been thinking about this question basically since it was posed to me, and I don't have a whole lot. Do not get me wrong. I'm sure we have a lot of irons in the fire. I'm just not like super anxious to get any of them really. And I'm not trying to, say I'm getting a bunch of games I'm not going to like. I'm just not that super excited. They come when they come. It's almost a surprise. I kind of enjoy that. It's like, oh, look, we got a box. What's that? And you open it up, and sometimes it's great. Or, Mark calls you from the FLGS and says, oh, we got this in for you. You'd be like, oh, I forgot I even ordered that. That's awesome. So I kind of like the surprise of that. I definitely am looking forward to Dice Tower. But if I was going to mention one game I was looking forward to, I pre-ordered the second printing of War Room. So I'm kind of excited to get that. I don't expect to play it anytime soon, but it's definitely, I forget his name. It's Larry something who made Axis and Allies, and this is his next game.
Ooh.
And it's massive.
Yeah, it is not Axis and Allies. It is like Axis and Allies on steroids.
Yes, it is. It looks glorious. I pre-ordered, like I said, I pre-ordered the second printing or whatever, but I ordered a couple extra things, and they already sent me like the pushers to move the stuff around on the map.
Nice.
Yeah, this is not something Babe wants anything to do with. So
I remember seeing this on crowdfunding, and I was like, oh, I want that. And then I was like, I am literally never going to get that played. And then I was like, oh, but I want it. But no, it's never good. It's just going to take up space. Like, and I didn't.
I completely understand. But I figure, you know what? I've given up on some of those games in the past just because our friends have them. Like, for instance, I no longer own Twilight Imperium 4th Edition because ours stayed in shrink literally 3 years, and I played it 4 or 5 times during that time. I was like, why do I need this? We'll just play with one of the people that has it. But I figure I'm going to be the only one who has War Room.
There's a copy in the virtual flea market for Dice Tower Con.
I did see it in there, yeah. One of our friends actually poked and was like, oh, don't let Eric see that. I was like, you're way too late, man. I pre-ordered that months ago, so.
You probably get it sooner if you bought it at the flea market.
Yes. Indeed. And you know what's funny is I actually, last year at Dice Tower, I played Dominant Species one night with a buddy and some of his buddies kind of thing. And that game was literally the next table over. Now, I was in Dominant Species, so I really didn't have any time to not think about my species and how badly I was losing and what I could do about it to actually pay attention to that game. But it was just there. I was like, oh my God, that is glorious. Glorious. So.
Well, sign me up. I'll play with you.
Martin's always game.
That's another thing Red Dice Tower is great for is like that long game you can never get to play.
Yes.
Set up a day and time and you can get it out. It's great.
I mean,
or if it's advanced Civ, it's those 2 days you didn't ever have time for. Or Mega Civ, rather, not advanced Civ, but Mega Civ. Yes.
It's still just the opportunity cost, though, right? Like, I mean, I could play War Room for 5 or 6 hours, or I could play 4 or 5 other games,
Yeah, but then the games we play is Brian Boru.
Well, okay, but I'm glad I played that game, right? Because now I know.
Now you never have to play it again.
Yeah. I'm glad you played it. I'm not glad I played it.
We've gotten some mileage out of our play.
That's true. And I think I mentioned this a little while back. There's never such thing as a bad board game because even if it's not good, you usually get a story out of it. Like, oh, about this time we played Jet Set, and it comes back up several times. It's absolutely worth the time doing it. And that's why I'll usually be like, yeah, this looks weird, but let's play it because why not?
Yeah, my brother.
Unless you spent $500 on the Kickstarter, then it's a bad game.
So I don't even go to Kickstarter anymore. They're not even giving me any more money.
Yeah, I have well cut back. Well, like I said, I've only got 3 things on pre-order. 2 of them are expansions. And one is very optimistic of me. The adventure book for Robinson Crusoe, like just that has all the scenarios collected or whatever.
We backed a bunch of that. Like we backed all the new stuff for that.
Yeah, I just the book. I just have the book with the scenarios, but even that, I'm probably never gonna get to play any of that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if my kids want to play, I don't know.
We did Terraforming Mars and Raw, and both got delivered. So I don't think there's anything we even have backed at the moment.
I have to hold Martin back for more things on Kickstarter until some of what we have on order comes in.
A lot of what we have is reprints. Babe's not intimately involved with the curating side of our collection, but I backed the update, the reprint to Madeira. That's got to be 2 years ago. I'm still waiting on that, and I have Madeira, so I'm just looking for the fancy box and the upgraded stuff. We backed the Robinson Crusoe stuff, all the new stuff for that. We backed the new Castles of Burgundy, so we're waiting on a brand new Castles of Burgundy. There's another one in that vein too that we got Raw. Same kind of thing. Was like,
You saw the art design on that new Castles of Burgundy, and you're like, I'd like to give you some of my money.
You know what I really like is the acrylic tiles. I think the acrylic tiles look really sweet.
I'm still better about it because this could have been the perfect deluxeified game.
I agree 100%. They went way too overboard with it. They could have just deluxeified it and have been really pretty, and that would have been fine.
It would have been great.
I have the acrylic tile version of Kohaku, and I love that. I had the acrylic tile version of Metro, and I thought it was awful. I actually donated that to charity and just kept my old cardboard version. So I don't know, man. The acrylic things can be hit or miss.
Well, there's some things too. Like you said, with reprints, there's some that you're just like, this is the only reprint it's got, and it might not ever get another one. You got to jump on it. Like, what's that, War of the Rings Collector's Edition or something they made?
Yes.
And they have just not made another one since. They won't talk about it. If you send them an email, they'll block you.
Well, technically, they made two. They made the War of the Ring Collector's Edition first.
Yeah.
And that one's just absolutely stunning. That one's the one that comes in what looks like a book. That's like this big, and you open it up like a book. And then I think a few years later they did the Anniversary Edition. So it's not quite as tripped out as the Collector's Edition, but it's still super, super fancy. And I'm with you, John. Every time I see them, every time I see Ares games at a convention or anything, I'm like, when are you going to reprint? What's coming up with that? Tell me when you're going to do it again. And they always say, nope, never. We're never doing it again. So
it's a true collector's edition, which is fortunate for some, unfortunate for others.
I got a lead on one. I might have to mortgage the house to get it though. So
worth it.
I just got the game that was a hot Kickstarter, Earth, but I just bought the cheap retail version, and it's nice, right? I mean, I'm missing the calendar cards, which I really don't think this game needs any more complications. So that's the only gameplay difference. But I don't care that it has wooden soil tokens or whatever the other differences are. I don't know. It's got the wooden things to stack up the growth. It's got, I don't know. I thought the components were fine.
That's an interesting thing too. Some Kickstarters are starting to go retail in a really nice version for a better price than was kickstarted before the Kickstarters get it delivered. I got Endless Winter retail, and for the price and how good that game is and the niceness of what's inside there, it's mind-boggling that that's a retail product, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, getting that much pre-order money, I guess, is what allows them to make the nice versions of retail. So that's great. But in almost all cases, I don't care. I don't care that I'm going to get the game 3 months later than you, or that window's getting narrower all the time. Sometimes it's just a few weeks later. But I mean, even if it is 6 months later, I don't care. I'll just buy the retail version.
I've got plenty of games I can't get to the table. That's just another one.
Yeah, I don't give Kickstarter any of my money. I get a cheaper version of it, and I theoretically support some game store and publisher anyway. So whatever, it's fine.
I'm gonna slowly think of things that we have backed as this whole thing goes on. I'm just gonna shout them out.
Well, we're moving on to a different
the Fox
topic.
Experiment. Elizabeth Hargrove's new game, The Fox Experiment. I'm waiting on that one.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, so I have a question, because I have the other thing that I have on pre-order. Well, actually, I guess it's on hold at Game Nerds because it's in stock now. Is the Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition Foundations that adds 2 more players? I guess it goes up to 6 players if you have that expansion, and it's just sitting on hold because it's not very expensive. It's like $18 or something, and I'm waiting to get to the free shipping threshold. But they also have Discovery, and Discovery has the milestones and stuff. that you have in normal Terraforming Mars and adds those to Ares Expedition. And I've said before that I don't miss those in Ares Expedition, but I don't think it's done the same way. Like, you don't have to fund them or something. I don't know. Has anybody seen the Discovery expansion for Ares Expedition?
Not
I
really.
own it, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, you have? Did you get all three?
So the thing we backed is one box with all three of the
All three.
expansions in it. But the main thing, like you said, is the 5-6 player expansion. So next time I get to the table, I'll let you know how it is. But really, the main thing we wanted was the higher player count.
Yeah, the third thing is just solo, I think.
Yes, it's a
co-op.
so-
It's co-op.
Cool. It's one of the two, but it's one that we don't ever plan to touch. So we'll throw the milestones in. We'll play it with 6 players and hopefully let you know how that is. But I'm excited to be able to get it with 6 players. It's a perfect game to be able to go to that length.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, so, we've talked about Dice Tower Con, and a bunch of us are going to be there, but I am curious, because we are definitely going to get together and play some games at Dice Tower Con. I know I absolutely have to play My Little Everdell with Tiffany, because I think this is the game that,
I want
that
in
will
on that.
save Everdell for me, and I know Tiffany loves Everdell. So
We just played Everdell like yesterday.
Yeah, I saw
Okay,
you
I'll
posted
still
the
play it.
picture. Pearlbrook, you added Pearlbrook in, right? Yeah. But so I'm curious from our members here. Is there something you want us to play and then review? I know that John has played Shake That City, and that is high
Yes.
on my list, and I assume it will be there. 'Cause
It's a great family win game. I really enjoyed it.
and that's AEG, right?
Yep.
So neutral, yeah. Do you already have it on pre-order or no?
But I went in on that My Little Everdell. I really want to try that game out, and I love Everdell. So it's again focusing this year on playing games that I don't ever get to play. That's one of them.
Yeah, I mean,
I still want to play Carnegie. Like, that's kind of been on
that
the
was
slow
big
burn for
last
me.
year.
My
So, I mean,
wife
it's-
loves Carnegie, so
It was big last year. We never actually got around to play it, but it still has buzz a year later, and that's my kind of game right there.
So
Still picking up some buzz a year later. So
what's up with? I've heard other people also call it Carnegie. What's up with that?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
But it's a name, and it's named after a famous person.
Who's from Pennsylvania, and his name is Carnegie.
So why do they call it Carnegie Hall?
Because they're idiots. That's
for some reason they call it the Caribbean, the Caribbean.
right. Exactly. Same thing. Caribbean, Caribbean.
They'll
whatever.
say it wrong, and it gets familiarized, and that's the name, even though it's not really the name.
Nice.
Sometimes you.
Or this is a Dice Tower East pro tip. If you're not from the area, the con happens in Kissimmee. It doesn't happen in Kissimmee. So for the love
That's a good one. Yes.
it happens in Kissimmee,
Kissimmee, not
Yeah.
Kissimmee.
not Kissimmee.
Which is close to
Kissimmee.
Econ Lahatchie, which is a fun word to say.
I was on a plane one time, and I was sitting probably on the aisle, and 2 people sitting next to me, and they were having a conversation. A businessman, and he's flying into Orlando. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I got a meeting over in Maddieland." I'm like, Maddieland? What? And he was
It's
just
not even spelled that
mispronouncing.
way.
He was just mispronouncing Maitland. Maddieland. I gotta go to Matt, and he had this sort of weird Texas maybe accent or something. I gotta go to Maddieland. I was like, I don't
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good
Not
one.
how that's spelled.
No, it's not. But well, hey, over on this side of town, it's Oviedo, which of course, if you know Spanish at all, you're going to see
Oviedo.
that and say it's Oviedo. But of course, no, it's Oviedo. Good times. Good times. So let's see, what else was on my dice tower? Oh, I want to play an old game called Snow Tales. Have you all played that?
I don't think so. It's
Wasn't
a
that re-released?
dog
It's
sledding.
a different name.
dog
No, I don't
sledding.
think
I
so.
thought it was snowboarding.
It wouldn't work as snowboarding, I don't think, because the way it's a race, and the way the mechanics work are, I think you play, maybe there's 4 positions, and you play mush cards and break cards, and so you can change up what the value is, and if you have more total value on the left or right, it pulls your sled that way, which you need on your turn to move around these obstacles and people. And
So it's
make
Tokyo
turns
Drift
or
Dog
whatever.
Sled Edition?
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite as much drifting as you might want in a drifting game, although you could probably repurpose the mechanisms for it. But I watched many years ago. I think a Rahdo run through of the game, and I thought, well, that looks fun, and I have no idea why I've never played it. I like racing games. It's a interesting theme. You don't see dog sledding a lot, and the mechanisms looked fun to me too. So, some racing games are just random, and that's cool because it's just chaos. But this one looked more like a controlled sort of strategy racing game, but not slow. The biggest problem with strategic racing games is they can be so slow, and then that's not fun to me. So I don't know. I wanted to give that a shot, and like I said, that's an older game, way out of print.
I haven't played new racing games since they perfected the formula with Ave Caesar.
Oh, man. I know how much you hate that game. That game
is so stupid.
That game has been rethemed. Actually, isn't that the game that became Downforce?
No, Downforce is way different.
Downforce was Downforce.
No, Downforce was at least inspired by some other game. I mean, it came from Restoration Games.
Yeah, but I thought the old game was named Downforce.
I think it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lineage there of it coming from some other.
While you're looking, I'm
race.
still waiting on ISS Vanguard.
Okay. This says it re-implements 1996's Top Race. So
okay.
I don't know that.
I have been wrong before. It's just rare.
From time to time.
Yes.
Well, I liked Downforce about as much as I liked Ave Caesar, by the way.
There's just
I didn't like Downforce.
There's no control in Downforce. You just play the card on your turn and hope for the best.
The problem for me with Downforce is it probably would have been better playing with a different group. But so this was in the early days of the gaming group at the Cool Stuff Games at Waterford before it closed, and it was before everybody showed up with 27 games each. Like, what are we going to play? So we were there, and we had played a couple of games that people wanted to play, and people wanted to try something new. And I was like, okay, I just went over to the shelf and bought Downforce so we could play it, right? We played it, and I think the group just didn't get the game, right? So there was that one race where somebody else was betting on my car, but I was betting on my car too. So that person kept pushing me to win, and I was pushing to me to win. And at some point, I just told the guy, I was like, "Look, you realize that if that car wins, I'm gonna beat you because we're both putting the same bets down, but I get the bonus for it being my car." And he was just like, he wanted to be second, I guess. I don't know. And so I don't know. It was just like the game wasn't so fun, right? Like,
I definitely don't remember that angrily, but your car was yellow.
Yeah, it was. But we played it twice, and the same thing happened again. Like, people were
that guy's is one of those wild cards, if you know what I mean.
No, but it wasn't just him. It was that one time. It was totally him that one time. But the other time, it was like sort of a similar thing where it was just people were. Yeah, everybody has to be trying to be first in that game. Nobody can be content with second or third or something, or it won't work. But otherwise, it's basically king making. I mean, both games actually. I think other people ended up king making me, and that wasn't fun for people who were getting left in the dust. And it really wasn't fun for me because I didn't feel like I earned my victory. Like, I always want to feel like I played well when I won, not just, oh, random event on the last card, I win, whoop-dee, like.
I get a lot of those, like, I don't know who to target with this, so I'm targeting you because you're you.
Oh,
that happens to me a decent amount.
Yeah.
And in Downforce, they're just like, oh, I'm playing this card that could really help you at the worst time just because they vocalize it. And I'm just like, well, why don't we just go out back and fist fight and we'll come back in and play a different game? Like, what are we doing here?
Wait, what was that one game which was a retheme? It was rethemed into a city game, but it was an older game, and we were playing that at the game store. And at one point, I stopped the game, and I was like, because you and this other guy were like just going at it, and I was like, are we playing the game, or are you two guys just fighting? Right? What was the name of that game? You tried to sell it. The Estates?
The Estates, yes.
And that was a retheme of what was the previous name?
I don't know if that's a retheme, but that game is so cutthroat.
I keep saying things are a retheme. I'm gonna be right one of these days.
Do
Hold
you
on.
remember who the guy was, by the way?
Oh, yeah. I was.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
I was just not naming names here.
I'm
right?
just making sure we're on the same page here.
It was Neue Heimat, which was an abstract game.
Ah.
I couldn't remember the name because it's Neue Heimat.
This is one of those. It's literally a knife fight in a phone booth. You're fighting for everything you have from turn one. If somebody else gets something, it's bad for you. It is a rough game, and like that was the one that was closest to just like a verbal altercation. I haven't played it since, and it's actually sitting in my garage.
Yeah, I took it to a in-person flea market for you, and it did not sell.
It's a shame because it's a good game, but it definitely brings up those feelings of anger for some people.
Nice. Okay, other people, name games that make you mad.
Everdell.
Diplomacy.
Oh, Diplomacy.
I love Diplomacy. Man, I'd like to get a good game of
We
that
should get
going.
like all 5 days of Dice Tower game Diplomacy going.
Actually, I don't know if it's coming to Dice Tower, but Erock, you just mentioned the pushing sticks, right? For
Yes,
War Room?
right.
I saw pictures of a giant version of Diplomacy that's on the floor and people move their things around
That's
with pushing
awesome.
sticks. I will never play Diplomacy live. I will play it by turn submission, where if you submit a turn a day or something like that, I would play Diplomacy that way.
That's how I always played it on a forum. It worked.
Yeah.
It's like php.diplomacy or something back in the day.
Well, we
usually started live, and then as soon as we ran out of time, then we went to every other day kind of a system or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the we did it in school, and it was just one turn a day submission, and I liked that because there was a lot more diplomacy, right? You could have private conversations with people pretty easily, a lot more sort of backstabbing and planning and etc. And just saying that apparently if I was in charge, we'd all be speaking Russian. So
I'm hiding out in Turkey. I always played Turkey.
Duh.
Nice. Somebody always gets stuck with Italy,
Yes, somebody gets stuck with Italy, and it's a bad day. You're gonna have a bad time.
Actually, what is it? The Austro-Hungarian Empire or something? Austria-Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends was Austria-Hungary, and they were in the middle of it, right? So he first turn he'd made some deals, and just everybody double-crossed him the first turn. He went down to 2 armies on 2 control centers on the first turn, and that's all he had. And he just said, hey, he just told the person running the game, my 2 armies are supporting each other ad infinitum for the rest of the game. I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
I'm out.
See, I think it would have been funnier if he said that and then 3
and
or
then
4
actually
turns
did
later
stuff.
did something else,
Yeah.
right? That would have been a classic Diplomacy play. But he was washing his hands of that game because he had made, I don't know, maybe 3 alliances for moves and support or whatever, and every single one of them double crossed him without coordinating that. They just all decided okay, right? I mean, your first turn of Diplomacy, you're probably gonna do something that angers somebody, right? That's the game,
Probably.
right? So,
You pick 1 or 2 allies and you anger everybody else. That's how you win.
yeah, and just everybody, double crossed him on the first turn.
Diplomacy is
what a
the
shame.
only game I actually encourage player elimination. Because you're going to be playing for a month anyway, so just kill him. Just kill him and get him out of the game so he doesn't have to be here for the rest of this.
Here, Billy, you can have June back.
Right, exactly.
Nice. Wow. Gosh. Yeah. I think the game that made me the maddest was Silverwood Grove.
No, because it's number 1, you only played half the game, so you can be half as angry as I am.
No.
And number 2, you still won.
Well, I did still won after leaving the table 20 minutes before the end of the game. But also, nobody has actually ever played that game because it didn't have rules. So
You have to have a full rule book for it to be a game.
they left out how to score. in
Did
the
they
rule book.
crowdfund the
So that
rules,
was
or
fun.
just like
Oh, no.
pick your favorite? Donate here, and you can pick a rule.
Obviously, it was a practice game.
Oh my god, that game was so bad.
It's the definition of Kickstarter waste.
Their clarifications made the game playable, so gold star there. But it was funny because there were plenty of cards where we were like, "What? There's no way it's that. This has got to mean something else. That's garbage." And then in their clarifications, we're like, "No, yeah, that's right." Like, what?
It's a game that's really hard to build a building. Like, it's expensive. It's a lot of points. It's really good. Steven got a free building every turn.
No, that was the other guy.
Oh,
That wasn't me. Yeah.
That was, you had a different, more powerful one.
Yeah.
But there's a few that's just like, this is way too strong. They're like, no, that's exactly how they work. It's like, well, thanks. I'll never play this game again.
Yeah, I mean, we were literally designing the game as we played because, like I said, a bunch of rules were missing. Like, you would read a card and it would be like, this is 3 points towards the something or another, and you're like, the what?
Well, the best
Is
part
that
is,
in the rulebook?
do you know what the rulebook is
Let's
missing?
make up what that is.
Do you know what the rulebook is missing? In-game
Rules.
scoring.
Yeah.
There's no mechanism to score and win the game. It's not in the rulebook.
They said something like they were going to print it on the board and forgot or something like that. They had like the latest excuse.
There's special abilities that reference in-game scoring, and you go through the rulebook and you're like, what does this mean? There's nothing in the rulebook about it. It literally means nothing. It's... But again, it's one of those stories we'll always have because it was that bad of an experience. But oh man, playing it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, it was funny. We've gotten our mileage out of that play, I guess. But it was supposed to be like a 45-minute game, and I left 2.5 hours in or something. I don't know.
I think it lasted 3 total. Well, 2 hours of that is trying to figure out rules disputes, which happened every turn.
Yeah, but even with the clarifications, it was still a bad design because we were all like, you could recruit these workers who gave you bonus stuff, but then as the common tableau changed, you would want to change what workers you had. You know, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like, you might have a strategy, but the cards aren't coming out, so you need to shift your strategy. So you'd be like, okay, well, I'll just fire this worker and hire this other worker. And so we're like, can you do that? It doesn't say you can do that in the rules. Maybe we should just assume you could do that. And they're like, nope, you can't do that. You hire 2 workers and you're stuck with them the whole rest of the game. You can't change anything. I'm like, not only why, because that makes the game worse, but then like, what? I don't know. It's great. Good times. You should play it. Play it sometime just so you can commiserate with me. It's like your friend. This is a guy thing, not a girl thing. This is a guy thing. Oh, this is awful. Try it.
Yes.
Here, smell this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, play this game, Erock, man. We gotta talk about this. Here you go.
Pass.
Yeah, what's it called again?
Silverwood Grove?
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
If you go,
Oh, Tiffany, you particularly have to be careful because this looks like Everdell or something. Like, it's beautiful.
No.
It's got the little woodland creatures and beautiful art and presentation and production. Like, everything is top notch. If you saw this game on the table, you'd probably be like, oh, can I play? No. Don't worry, you won't ever see it on the table. Nobody's that dumb. But yeah, you in particular, I think, would get sucked in by this game. You should go look at the Kickstarter or the BGG page just to see how pretty it is.
And remember the whole time how bad they're telling you.
How bad it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are an hour in, which is our normal time limit. But did anybody have a question you wanted to throw out that we wanted to rapid fire answer?
No. Was that the question?
That is a valid response.
Yeah.
You all are good. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. We, like I said, we're going to do this every 3 months or so. It's fun for us to get together, chat with you all. At some point, we're going to talk about our attempt to make a convention in the future. Yeah, what?
La Granja. The other one that was very similar was La Granja that we're waiting on the reprint.
La Granja is sitting unplayed on my shelf. I traded for a cheap copy, though, instead of backing a reprint. Multi-use cards.
Yes.
I love that.
Me too.
All right. Well, before Erock can name another game, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So thanks Thanks for joining us, and we'll do this again soon.
Thanks, y'all. See you next time.
Oh,
Bye.
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 hey.